Hello and welcome to today's 2021 MEF 3.0 Proof of Concept Showcase, where MEF members collaborate to demonstrate MEF 3.0 based use cases that validate, evolve, and inspire the work of MEF. I'm Kevin Vachon, your host, and today we're showcasing POC 106, entitled Remote Employee Access to Cloud, with Amartys, Nefeli, Sparkle, and Versa. You know, it's only been 15 months since Gartner first highlighted the concept of SASE, incredible in such a short period of time. 12 months since COVID-19 became a global problem. And here we are with leading market players showing how secure remote working can be dramatically enhanced based on current and emerging MEF standards. This is really pioneering stuff. So our program today kicks off with an introduction to the POC by Daniele Mancuso of Sparkle, and he's also an MEF board member, I should say, followed by the demonstration itself, a business panel, then a Q&A session where we'll direct your questions to representatives of the participating companies. Throughout the event, you can queue up your questions at any time by selecting the Q&A tab on your right. So let's get started. Daniela, over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Daniele Mancuso, and I'm Chief Product Management at Sparkle, Telecom Italia fully owned global carrier, #1 international service provider in Italy, and among the top 10 worldwide. Today, I'm honored to have been designated to introduce the MEF 3.0 Proof of Concept 106, orchestrated SASE services based on Lean NFV. In this proof of concept, that is a joint effort of Amartys, Nefeli Networks, Sparkle, and Versa Networks, each of them responsible for disparate aspects of the final concept, we are going to show how SASE services, instantiated and orchestrated via an NFV architecture, allow employees working either on-prem or remotely access to enterprise corporate resources dispersed along multiple public clouds, keeping both network and security policies fully aligned with the corporate governance, notwithstanding the worker location and the workload localization. The use case discussed in this proof of concept is of paramount importance because it represents the post-pandemic normal in terms of hybrid workplace model. The pre-COVID way of designing and deploying enterprise networks is in fact not scalable and not suitable for this new era, when workforce mobility becomes one of the main pillars of enterprises' digital transformation strategy. Today, enterprises secure their network at the entry point of their corporate data center, creating a secure and trusted intranet versus the external network. Branch offices are connected through a WAN, either through standard IP MPLS VPNs or through more sophisticated approach using SD-WAN. Cloud applications must be accessed either through the corporate data center to guarantee consistent networking and security policies, but causing tromboning, or via regional hubs hosting security stacks and improving latency, but increasing management complexity and costs. Remote users, either road warriors or working from home, must connect through VPNs to the corporate data center or to the regional hub to get access to the trusted enterprise intranet. Such an architecture does not scale with the requirements of an increasingly mobile workforce, who need to transparently consume both cloud-hosted and on-premise applications. Enter SASE to disrupt the model. You can think of SASE as an overlay to SD-WAN that incorporates security protocols whilst increasing a network's reach and supporting mobile, IoT, and any other type of device. A solution to the problem of securing and connecting the enterprise WAN in a simple, performant, and holistic way, thanks to the fact that network and security functions are both converging into a single multi-tenant cloud platform, and security features are built into the underlying network infrastructure. This means that all edges, from sites to mobile to the cloud, receive the same level of protection. This new wave calls for an overall architecture and process simplification. Lean NFV is a new approach that completely rethinks the way network function virtualization solutions are designed and operated, and provides VNF vendors orchestration developers, and service providers are a clear path forwards towards a simpler, more interoperable, and innovative future for NFV, without the need of throwing out all previous efforts and implementations. You can think, if you like, to the holy grail of network function virtualizations. We are sure the proof of concept will be interesting, and we thank you very much in advance for your attention. I leave you to the demo, and please don't hesitate to contact us for any questions you may have. Thank you.
In the post-pandemic era, there is the need to rethink the way enterprise networks are designed and deployed. In 2020, COVID struck heavily, taking many lives and putting many others at stake. Generalized lockdowns transformed offices, shops and campuses in abandoned, empty places. Overnight, all employees were provided with a VPN to the headquarters, and work from home, once used only in few, limited cases, became normal. VPNs became the employees' best friends, but they could easily turn to be their worst nightmares. Today, enterprises secure their network at the entry point of their corporate data center, creating a secure and trusted intranet versus the external network. Different sites are connected through a WAN, either through a standard IP MPLS VPN or through a more sophisticated approach using SD-WAN. Eventual cloud apps must be accessed through the corporate data center to guarantee consistent networking and security policies. Any remote user, either road warrior or working from home, accesses a VPN to gain access to the trusted enterprise intranet. Such an architecture does not scale with the requirements of an increasingly mobile workforce who need to transparently consume both cloud-hosted and on-prem apps. Forcing all their traffic to be routed into the corporate data center for inspection is inefficient, compromises employees' experience and, with time, increases frustration on people already stressed by the difficulties of the lockdown period. Amartys, Nefeli Networks, Sparkle and Versa Networks have joined forces to demonstrate that today's technology is mature to change the rules of the game. The proof of concept lies on two technological foundations: Secure Access Service Edge, or SASE, defined by Gartner as a service connecting users, machines or humans, with their applications in the cloud, while providing connectivity performance and security assurance determined by policies set by the subscriber. Lean NFV, an approach that mitigates the complexity of deploying network function virtualization in real life, and that has recently been adopted by MEF for an integration into the LSO framework. To set the context of the POC, we'll consider Free Energy, a fictitious enterprise operating in the field of green energy trading. Free Energy headquarters is served by an IP MPLS supplied by Sparkle, that provides connectivity services to both the offices and the on-prem data center. Through Sparkle Network, Free Energy directly connects to Salesforce CRM running on Microsoft Azure and to the Greenium Energy Trading Marketplace running on AWS. An SAP app for financial accounting is installed in the on-prem data center. Employees working at the headquarters can easily access both SAP, Salesforce and Greenium with the same quality of experience. Gloria Brighton is a sales director at Free Energy. Due to the pandemic, she's working from home through a fixed broadband or an LTE connection. Our purpose is to enable Gloria to work from home with the same quality of experience as if she was at the headquarters, and with the same corporate security policies, without the need to establish static VPNs to the corporate data center. Gloria establishes a connection from her laptop to the SASE gateway in Sparkle Network, via the Versa Secure Access client. She then gets an authentication token from the widget installed on her smartphone, and finally access the corporate digital experience platform showing the apps catalog. And once she clicks either on Salesforce or on Greenium apps, the magic happens and the connections are established from the home to the cloud apps, without any useless redirection to the corporate data center for traffic inspection. Let's get the details.
As mentioned earlier, our proof of concept presents a MEF-defined SASE service enabling secured access to multiple public clouds. Connectivity service is fully orchestrated and enables unified security profile for every attachment point thanks to distributed functions located in multiple domains. Lean NFV introduces service innovation at the edge with dynamic service chaining. As a result, SASE service allows employees working either on-prem or remotely for policy-driven, zero-trust access to enterprise resources dispersed along multiple clouds. The POC is a joint effort of Amartys, Nefeli, Sparkle and Versa, each of them responsible for different aspects of the final concept. Amartus is responsible for the integration of the solution and orchestration of the end-to-end connectivity and security. Nepheli uses Lean NFV for dynamic chaining of network functions, Versa takes care of SD-WAN and security, and Sparkle offers to its enterprise customers the service enabled by these technologies. The overall architecture is presented in the diagram. The central integration point is the key value store. End-to-end connectivity and policy orchestration platform communicates with other components through this store by writing and reading service configuration and state. Different bits of the configs are picked up by Nepheli Weaver, a Lean NFV-based service chain orchestrator which is responsible for deploying SD-WAN on UCPE. On the other hand, security configuration is pushed through a wrapper to Versa Director, which is a controller for Versa VOS. This config contains details related to SD-WAN connection and security profiles that should be applied. Consequently, enterprise users are provided with a fully orchestrated connection to resources with unified security rules applied throughout the service chain, even if the resources are accessed from home. Now, let's see how this is done.
Starting a deployment of the SD-WAN connectivity with a selected security profile from the main orchestration platform. From here, we can switch to blueprints, which are responsible for service provisioning and are based on workflows. Execution stable lists recently performed operations. It is empty right now, as we are at the very beginning of the deployment. We have prepared 3 blueprints for the proof of concept to support different pre-configured scenarios. From this screen, we are able to deploy Versa SD-WAN with selected SASE provider, Versa or Benu, and specific security profile. Another option is to deploy a third-party SD-WAN chained with Benu SASE. The last option is to deploy only SASE configuration on Versa VOS in order to apply security profile for remote user connecting through a VPN directly to SASE gateway. Each of the blueprints consists of a number of steps that can be executed sequentially or in parallel. Blueprint is essentially a workflow built with tasks, which in this case insert keys into key value store to be used by Nepheli Weaver, check the execution progress, and send REST calls to Versa Director and AWS API. The deployment should be provided with necessary inputs. We specify its name, SASE provider, security profile, and UCPE. Execution of the workflow goes through SD-WAN creation and configuration, security profile assignment in SASE gateway, and public cloud security group management. This is achieved through interactions with the key value store, which include actions like creating a key, watching existing keys, and reading new values of the specific key. Right now, we have a properly set up service chain. As it's shown in dashboard, the deployment was successfully installed and 7 compute nodes were created. Switching to Versa Director dashboard, it's updated with the newly created workflow template named MEF-POC workflow template and MEF-POC device, which was created and deployed. The service chain is visible there in the Nepheli Weaver dashboard.
In this POC, Nepheli is providing the Lean NFV components through Nepheli Tapestry, an orchestrator built from the ground up using Lean NFV concepts. Lean NFV is an open architecture designed to streamline management of a multi-vendor ecosystem for NFV. The key components of the Lean NFV architecture are 1. The key value store, a universal point of integration avoiding the need for tightly integrated pairwise APIs. 2. The Lean NFV REST server, LRS, a very lightweight server assuring authentication, authorization, and accounting. 3. A virtual switch for real-time gathering of key performance metrics. 4. The management microcontrollers, which are modular in nature and together perform the NFVO, VNFM, and VIM functionality. 5. The VNF and CNFs, which can come from any source, be hosted anywhere, and run in any environment, including Kubernetes. For this demonstration, we have implemented the Network Edge use case. Here, a service provider enables a new service, Enterprise Edge, so that enterprise customers can outsource all of their networking to the service provider. Network functions, such as SD-WAN and SASE, are deployed on the Nepheli platform at the UCPE and coordinate with services in the data center or cloud. Both Nepheli Weaver and the Amartys MDSO use Lean NFV to coordinate and manage the overall topology. And of course, by using Lean NFV, you'll be able to dynamically scale up and modify your service chains as needed. Let's see what this looks like on the Nepheli Tapestry platform. Here, we are replacing a 2-core BCPE with a larger 3-core version. Once you click Publish, Nepheli Tapestry takes care of the rest, placing and launching the larger NF while avoiding any traffic disruptions through flow affinity. Now, let's dynamically add a SASE NF to an existing SD-WAN deployment. As you can see, the new NF is active. And again, there is no traffic disruption. It is that easy.
In this POC, Versa will provide major 3 components. First, secure SD-WAN. Second, secure access secure edge, that is SASE. And third, security services, which includes application aware next-gen firewall and unified threat management features such as antivirus, IPS, and IDS. All the people who are working from home along with road warriors for an enterprise will use Versa SASE client to connect securely to their corporate network. The SASE client along with the SASE gateway will provide majorly 3 functionalities. First, trusted internet connection. Second, low latency backdoor access to cloud hosted applications. And third, the corporate network access. Now let's see how this looks from Versa Director perspective. So in this POC, we have 3 devices. The MEF POC device is nothing but the UCPE device, the corporate branch location, and SASE gateway. Versa Director will be used for security configurations along with monitoring as well as troubleshooting. The SASE gateway device has 2 WAN interfaces. Here we can see a live traffic flow across both the WAN interfaces. From the SASE gateway to the remote branch locations, that's our UCPE device. Here we can see a live graph of bandwidth, latency, and packet loss. The geographical location of all the SD-WAN devices and SASE client and their connectivity can also be seen from the Versa Analytics. Versa Analytics will provide a historical view of traffic patterns, security vulnerabilities, system information, and logs.
We'd like to thank you to have patiently followed us till the end of the presentation, and we hope you found value on this proof of concept. For any question, drop us an email to MEF_POC_106@tsparkle.com. Stay safe.
Good day, everyone, and welcome again to PC 106. Thank you for attending today. We now have a panel discussion followed by Q&A of the 4 companies that participated and invested in this POC. I want to start by doing a very quick round of introductions of our panelists. I've asked each of them to say, who they are, what their job is, and in one short sentence, what their company does. I'd like to start with you, Daniele Mancuso.
Thank you, Dan. Good day, everybody. My name is Daniele Mancuso. I'm Chief Product Management in Sparkle. Sparkle is Telecom Italia's fully global operator. We are #1 service provider in Italy, and we are among the top 10 worldwide. We do from submarine cables until cloud, voice, and mobile services. Thank you.
Eugenia Corrales.
Thank you, Dan. Hello, my name is Eugenia Corrales. I am the CEO of Nefeli Networks. Nefeli is a company enabling distributed cloud, and we are based in California in the United States. Thank you.
Thanks, Eugenia. Neil Danilovich.
Yes, my name is Neil Danilovich. I'm a principal architect for Versa Networks. Versa Networks is a secure SD-WAN software vendor, and we deliver product to enterprises and service providers to enable the appropriate networking connection in a secure manner.
Thank you. And finally, Jerzy Bartman.
Hello, my name is Jerzy Bartman. I'm VP Sales of Amartus. Amartus is a company who provides every service around networks, network integration, and software development around networks. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm Dan Pitt, recently retired as Senior Vice President of MEF, and I'm really running the Lean NFV project calls in MEF. Well, I'd like to start with you, Daniele. You're from a company that's using this to offer a service. Can you please explain briefly how Lean NFV and SASE for remote employees enables you to offer new or better services to your enterprise customers?
Thank you, Dan, for this question. I think we are going right to the core of the discussion. Let's start with the first part of the question about NFV. NFV was considered about 7 or 8 years ago, really a game changer into the way networks should have been designed. In reality, 8 years after the publication of the first paper from ETSI, we can say that the target was not fully reached. Of course, several steps forward have been done, but a lot of complexity is still on the table, especially in the process of integrating virtual network functions and in the management stack. Lean NFV is a totally new approach that first of all allows service provider not to throw out the investment done in these 8 years, but that with the final purpose to simplify really to the extreme the way VNF can be onboarded, can be integrated, can be instantiated and orchestrated. And this is of paramount importance coming to the SASE, because we consider SASE the new holy grail for enterprise connectivity. A completely new approach to design enterprises' corporate networks that once again simplifies management and unifies in a totally holistic way the way network and security policies are applied at every endpoint of the network. So you don't need anymore to do tromboning from every place you get to the network, and you can get to the application that you want either on-prem or on the cloud with the same corporate policies. So this for a service provider like Sparkle is really paramount importance.
Thank you very much. So Eugenia, tell us a little bit about really what is Lean NFV, what makes it lean, and what it takes to build and take products to market, because so we know that Nefeli Networks is really probably the leading provider of real Lean NFV solutions in the commercial marketplace today.
Thank you, Dan. So Lean NFV, as Daniele explained, is really an architecture, an open architecture that was developed by our founders, the founders of Nepheli, who are also academics in the networking space, to really address the unique needs of the virtualized network function technologies. And for that reason, when you use this architecture, it provides an extremely low overhead solution, an open architecture where you can really have contributions from multiple companies that are easily integrated with each other. It also fits really well, as Daniele explained, with the existing investments. So it can integrate with LSO, the MEF LSO architecture. It can integrate with the ETSI architecture. So it allows the providers to protect the investment that they have. And then finally, and most importantly, it allows a path forward, a seamless path forward to cloud technologies such as CNFs, which are just as easily integrated, or hosting on a Kubernetes environment. So for all those reasons, we believe that this is a technology that's really going to provide some great benefits to operators and to MEF members in general. At Nepheli, we have built a commercial product around that. But the goal of the effort of this POC and of the effort of the standards working group at MEF is really to define that open architecture in such a way that anyone that wants to contribute can do so.
Great, thank you. So Neil, Versa Networks is contributing to this POC two of the hottest technologies in networking today, SD-WAN and SASE. Can you tell us a little bit about how these work together to provide this connectivity that Daniele wants to offer his customers, and sort of where Lean NFV might fit into this picture, and to make it simpler or no more difficult?
So the whole concept behind the SD-WAN and the SASE is really a marriage between security and networking in a way that makes it extensible for all of the functions to actually work in a seamless manner. Where Lean NFV really comes into play is this ability to take the individual attributes that you need for each one of the security functions to be instantiated at a level where the enterprise can provide their intent without necessarily needing to know the individual intricate components that need to be instantiated at either the vendor level or even the service provider level. So what this does is it allows for the instantiation at a higher level and at more of an intent level. Brings in this synergy between the business logic and the networking logic, which has seemed to be missing in the past years. Where Versa really came into this is that we started with security as a base. So for us, the networking and the SD-WAN was sort of a way to talk about the security that we were doing. SASE just really takes that and expands upon this need for security to be in with the networking, where it is inside the service, but also influencing the connections, as Danielle was saying, from wherever the subject or the user is to the actual service, and from wherever the service to wherever the actual workload exists. So this allows us to deal with IoT or any other type of device, whether it's on network, off network, and still apply that same corporate logic for the service in general.
Very good, thank you. Jerzy, Amartys is integrating all the components in this POC to make them work. And this is a large part of what Amartys does, is give these integrated solutions for the service providers and their enterprise customers. From this POC, can you explain a little bit about what the integration task was like, how easy or difficult it has been to enable Sparkle to offer this service to remote employees and to multiple clouds, and how you work with these different components to provide a serviceable, survivable foundation for a service like remote employee access through SASE and Lean NFV?
Thanks, Dan, for that question. I can confirm every word which were said before by my colleagues. And what is very important, everything works like they described. But at the end, there is somebody who must integrate everything. And we as Amartus take that role and we integrate all components which were delivered by our colleagues. So in Amartus, generally, we are doing technical consultancy, system integration, and expert software development. And I can say that during that POC, we have opportunity to present each aspect of our everyday activity. So together with the rest of participants, we figure out the scenario which was used in that POC. Then we have to shape the whole architecture. And after that, it was necessary to build integration between all components and to engage a main orchestrator who can deploy blueprint which creates the service chain. So the task was not easy because, as we know, all those technologies are emerging. Those are new technologies in the market. So there is no routine for work with those technologies. But finally, we achieved the result, which you can see during our technical demo. So that's it.
Thank you. So we have 4 minutes left, and I would like to use this time to explore the commercial applications and benefits and customer responses to these new technologies. And I'd like to start with Eugenia on this one. Can you tell us just a little bit briefly, very briefly, how your customers are resonating, what they are using this benefit for?
Oh, thank you, Dan. So there's many uses for Lean NFV technology, which we're not going to talk about today. The two major ones that we're seeing are, number one, by carriers or telcos where they want to host what we're calling the enterprise edge, which is an on-demand service for their enterprise customers, very similar to the POC, where they can provide networking as a service to their enterprise customers. The second use case we're seeing is very interesting, which is among major SaaS providers using Lean NFV as a way to manage disparate environments together. If they have instances in the public cloud, instances in their own data centers, and being able to front that with Lean NFV to be able to manage all those environments in the same way with full visibility.
Wow, that's cool. Daniele, what is the response from your customers, or how do you intend to approach your customers with these new capabilities that you have exercised in this POC?
Well, I can confirm what Evgenia was saying for the first use case. Definitely Edge is the target that we are tackling for commercial implementation of Lean NFV, managing specific network functions. But I would even say more. I would think that we can even push it to the universal CPE, because such a lean architecture is probably fostering modernization of the way we deliver boxes to our end customers. And finally, Universal CPE was already solving to some extent the problem of having multiple functions in one piece of hardware, but this piece of hardware is still too energy consuming, too powerful machine. We need something that is really streamlined, and definitely Lean NFV can be deployed and can be developed to address also the CPE target.
Great, thank you. So Neil, what are your customers doing with these technologies that you're bringing to the market here?
So
very briefly,
on the Lean NFV side, what is happening is giving them this ability to use the business logic in a way that it's extrapolated from the individual virtual network functions. And so the Lean NFV helps translate that. Where we see SASE and in this pandemic event is the elastic edge, right? Now everybody's working from everywhere. It's not really asking where is the workplace, because the workplace can be anywhere. But now how do I deal with that employee and what he accesses while he's on the network versus off the network? And how do I control how that policy for the data information that he may possess and whether or not he accesses it on network, off network, on-site inside the company, or remotely from wherever his office might be. And so those are the two real use cases of how this works with SASE and the Lean NFV.
Great, thanks. And last word, Jerzy, what do you see as the customer needs that you're going to be satisfying with these offerings?
So I think that all customers will need integration, all those pieces. So our role will be to deliver final solution. And when solution is delivered, it means that everything works correctly and is already proven. So I believe that Sparkle, using all those components and our integration skills, can easily deliver to their customers the solution for remote work, which is so important in current time.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us on the panel and sharing your insights. And now we look forward to Q&A from the audience. Thank you again.
Yeah, that was a great demo, team. So many technical parts came together under, an integrated, orchestrated framework, and in particular, how it brought together, these really important works that MEF is doing. Of course, the emerging SASE work, the SD-WAN work that we've been doing, for the last few years, and of course, the emerging Lean NFV work. So great job, and I really enjoyed the drill down as well. So I'm going to be joined by Daniel Barlev. He's our VP of Strategic Programs. He's also our MEF 3.0 Proof of Concept Program Director. He's going to moderate the Q&A today. He's very, very well qualified for this role. He's been one of the incubators working with Neil and others for our SASE work. He drove all the initial coordination of our SD-WAN work in MEF as well. So Daniel, you're well versed on the topics and very well qualified to take over now. Over to you.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Kevin. I'm going to invite our panelists to join me on screen now. And while they're doing that, I'll highlight that we've seen a demonstration of one of the most important use cases in 2020 and 2021, I think, for digital services, and that is remote employee access. So I'm sure we're going to get some very interesting questions around that. I'll just remind our panelists that weren't in the previous panel that when they answer a question the first time, if you could just note your name, company, and title for the audience, that would be great. So to kick off, first question, this is going to be for Versa, I think. For remote access, is an SD-WAN device needed for the home user? I'm guessing a lot of people are wondering, we've got dozens or hundreds of remote employees there. Do we have to go and put an SD-WAN device in every home? And if not, what do we do?
All right, my name is Neil Danilovich. I work for Versa Networks. I am the principal architect in the office of the CTO. And Daniel, it's an excellent question. While there are advantages to having an SD-WAN device at a location to help with the actual traffic steering and the performance that would be benefit by having SD-WAN, it's not actually required for the actual SASE service. Where SASE differs from a traditional MEF service is we're not just worried about the connection and the performance of that service while you're inside the service, but we're going to influence the actual connections from wherever the user is and wherever the workload is. Because we understand that most likely the user isn't coming to us from inside the service. nor is the workload most likely going to be inside the service. But what is important is that the subscriber's policy is what is maintained. So if the user is on net, the policy is applied and the access is granted in an appropriate way. And if the user is not on the network, the access and the connectivity and the policies are provided. And that doesn't matter whether or not it's inside the subscriber's data center, whether it's in the public cloud, or whether it's in the public internet, because we know that all of those are going to be someplace that the user is going to want to get to, and it's going to be the corporate policy that's going to dictate. What ends up happening from a SASE perspective, though, is in order to provide this performance benefit, the SASE provider and the SASE service provider needs to have a global presence so that you actually get to the most optimal secure POP for this to happen. And that's how you don't need to have that SD-WAN necessarily on site in order to effectively use a SASE service.
Okay, great. So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is it's great if you can get SD-WAN right down to the remote employee's premises or location, but if not, it will work fine as long as they can access over internet into the nearest SASE service edge. Is that correct?
That is correct. And to prove the point, my video is coming to you through the POC. So I am using the SASE service to deliver this video through the POC.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you. So a question, I think, for Sparkle. How can telcos leverage the SASE paradigm to approach the global enterprise market? And perhaps I'll just paraphrase that in my term. What does Sparkle or a SASE service provider need to do in order to sell remote employee access services to global enterprise users?
Well, I think I'll take this, Daniel. Thank you for this question. I am Daniele Mancuso, Chief Product Management at Sparkle and MEF Director. So I believe that one of the key factors for a successful project like this is definitely reduce cost as every network project, but I believe that simplification is king in this paradigm. Enterprises today want to receive services on demand, and the paradigm is everything as a service. Automation is one of the pillars of satisfying the requests, and experience is one of the differentiating factors, probably the most important today. Not anymore quality, not anymore price alone, but experience end to end. And experience is built upon all those factors together. Experience is something that people working for the enterprise wants to receive in exact same way, whether they are working in the headquarters, whether they are at home, whether they are sipping a coffee in Starbucks, or they are doing a safari in Africa, or they are in lockdown, like in this very bad period. And when you need to design a solution that is able to satisfy this level of experience, you need to think out of the box, and you need components and orchestration that is totally different from the past. And I believe that in this proof of concept, we were really proving that technology today is really mature to provide this kind of experience. So telcos need to embrace SASE on top of SD-WAN, but not just on top of SD-WAN, on top of any network connection, as a kind of overlay of the overlays. But they need also to push forward simplifying solutions like Lean NFV. The combination of the two, I think it's a killer application on this segment, and we definitely want to explore more and to bring it to production.
Thank you for that, Daniele. So another question that's come in is, could you please shed some light on how SASE can be implemented on cellular network on top of 3GPP? I guess that's a question both for Sparkle and Versa, but perhaps Amartys also have some thoughts on that. I would have thought that actually a SASE managed service could run over any access, regardless of whether it's cellular or other, but perhaps you could, perhaps one of you could answer that.
Well, I'll briefly take this as well, and maybe give back to Neil that probably can say more. So from our perspective, SASE, as I said, is a totally overlaid service. So it can run basically on top of any kind of network connection. The most important thing is that orchestration is all the way from the overlay to the underlay. Only if you have everything certified and ready to work as it is, then it doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter if you're running over broadband, over LTE, over IP MPLS. That's our point of view.
Right. I would agree with what Daniele said. The idea here is 5G and 5G slicing and all of these advanced connectivity just provide a better mechanism for the underlay carrier service. It doesn't affect necessarily how SASE runs over it, or it doesn't necessarily reduce the need for an SD-WAN or an advanced routing concept to actually help deal with that performance, because as Daniele said, it's the experience from end to end that we have to deal with. And if we pin this to a certain underlay carrier service, then we're tied to what that performance of that underlay carrier service is, and we don't have that extra addition of the enhancements to do it basically per application flow, or put in all the advanced mechanisms to combat the performance that's happening on the underlay carrier service that you see in SD-WAN. As well as SASE then has to make sure that it's all secure, right? So we have to pick, again, the most optimal path, an optimal secure path for this to happen. And it needs to be dynamic and continually evaluated such that if changes happen in the user experience that dictate either additional security functions or a reduction in the security functions, we need to be able to adapt to that. And so SASE just rides on top of all of these other carrier services to actually enable this to actually happen in an effective manner.
Great stuff. Thank you for that, Neil. So this is definitely for Nefeli. Where exactly is the key value store, and how does it interact with the VNF? So I'll just remind everybody that Lean NFV is also a component of this POC, and I'm sure people are wondering, where that KVS sits. So perhaps one of the Nefeli team can respond to that.
Luigi, you want to take that one?
Actually, I'll take that one. Mike Tavino from Nefeli Networks, member of R&D staff. So the Lean NFV standard definition will not dictate where exactly the KVS lives, but nothing actually accesses the KVS directly. It all goes through the Lean NFV REST services, or LRS, that was described by Miji in the presentation. What that does, it's basically a RESTful service. It provides simple hooks for authentication, authorization, accounting, and most importantly, data validation. The actual key value store can be hidden away somewhere in a secure location where really only the LRS has access to it. And then all of the other components in a Lean NFV system access that LRS via basic, via HTTP, HTTPS. They can find it using DNS service discovery. So, we're really just sitting on top of the most frequently used layer 7 protocols in the world here.
Okay. One other point about this is that this is a natural function to reside in the cloud, and that can include the edge cloud if performance is that important. And this is very much an edge oriented POC.
Right. So you're pretty flexible about where you deploy the KVS. That's what you're saying, Dan. And if latency and performance are critical, then you would tend to push the KVS down towards the edge. Is that the point?
Yeah, and Kenny, maybe you could talk to the experience your customers have of where they like to cite it.
Yep, and in this POC, we actually used the KVS and the Lean architecture both ways, right? We used it in partnership with Amartus to provide the overall orchestration in kind of a more centralized fashion, but we also used it in the UCPEs to manage the UCPEs. And any number of network functions could have been deployed real time to those UCPEs. There's a key value store there with the Lean NFV architecture enabling that dynamic change management and that orchestration in the local UCPEs as well. So we used it both ways in the POC.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I was going to say, one other thing to remember is that the key value store and its LRS API is primarily a control plane layer thing. So it's not, it's less sensitive to things like latency than a data plane component, for example.
Okay, thank you. So question here, we only have one network provider included in the POC, and the offices are connected via MPLS. Presumably this setup would function similarly across multiple underlay providers and products. So I think that's a good question for the Amartus team, perhaps Dominic, just relating to supporting different technologies and different domains. Dominic, can you take that one?
Yes, of course I will. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Daniel. So my name is Dominik Ogrodnik. I'm a solution architect at Amartus. So as you mentioned, actually in the POC we are using a underlay which is an MPLS connectivity, right? But there's no like a blocker for us to span the SD-WAN connection and the SASE service over any kind of overlay that we can have below. So generally speaking, what we use in order to deploy a service or any other task that we would like to achieve, we define that in the blueprints, and those blueprints are just workflows which are built out of connected nodes, and they can implement necessary logic conditions. And then what we do is in those nodes, we are representing the defined resources or atomic actions that need to be executed. Like we deploy a VM, write the key to the key value store, or actually we just connect to the networking underlay in order to provision the underlay service, right? So the node is actually where this integration to other systems, to the network happens. So blueprints can use different communication plugins. So we can, for example, talk to the key value store, to the etcd, which we actually developed at in-house at Amartus. This can be a REST call, like we use, for example, to calling Versa. This can be a netconf RESTconf call or whatever, right? So that's actually how it happens. We have a set of plugins which we use in our blueprints. Some are generic ones, some are the plugins that we actually develop. But anyways, this gives us this flexibility so that we can work on any type of underlying network, any type of overlay DNFs. So we, as we did in the POC, we talked to Versa, we talked to Benu DNFs, and that's basically everything that is very flexible, very configurable, and as I said, it really depends on what is supposed to be done, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. Well, we've just got a few minutes left, so I think this is going to be the last question. But actually, it's sort of coming in two forms. So I'm going to read them out. How materially different is the way that security is deployed in this framework from traditional deployments? Is it the fact that policy recognizes and is determined by points on an elastic edge? In this solution is Versa the so-called security platform? And another question that came in, I think that's related, is do we need why do we need tight coupling between networking and security functions? So I think that question is really about the relationship between networking, security functions, and even policy. Would one of you like to take that last question?
Sure, I guess I'll take that. So I'm going to cover the second one before I tackle the first one. So the reason that you need to have this tight coupling is one of the things you don't want to have is this tromboning effect, right? The whole reason why the previous paradigm doesn't work for VPN is because everybody had to go back to the corporate data center in order to do something, in order to get out to the workflow that could have just been sitting, in some cases, like if you live in San Jose, 30 miles down the road from you, right? And so if your corporate headquarters wasn't in the western part of the United States, you're traveling back and forth. Well, if you don't have this tight coupling between the networking and the security, what ends up happening is you get to the network as fast as you can, but now I got to send your workload, the security-wise, to a portion where it is. So you need to have this ability to actually effectively move the traffic to where it needs to be for the security function in a way that is tightly coupled. So you have to have this ability to do possibly some of your security functions right at that first edge where you enter the SASE service, and then effectively and most optimally get to where you need to do the next security function. And if that's all worked in with the networking and security, you get into what you call a single pass architecture. I make my decision once and I go on. I don't have to constantly re-go through this conversation. So the idea about where you instantiate the workload needs to follow sort of what Gartner said. It needs to be elastic. I need to be able to have, based upon the subscriber's intent, this idea of either a thick branch or a thin branch, and conversely, either a thin cloud or a thick cloud, depending on what they need to do. And it needs to be continually evaluated such that as certain circumstances change, I am able to dynamically initiate and integrate different security functions to what Daniele and the rest of the team have talked about. Is if you have that traveling guy and he just happens to go to a different region, theoretically your SASE service should be able to instantiate what is needed at the closest POP. That might not have been there previously because no one had used that POP, but it needs to instantiate it there versus bringing it all the way back, because we got to provide the best end-to-end user experience and in the most secure and optimal manner that meets what the subscriber's policy requires.
Great. Well, thank you for that, Neil. I'm afraid, Ohania, that we're going to have to wrap up here because we're at the end of our time. We're just over it. So thank you very much indeed to our panelists for fielding those the live Q&A. I'm sorry we didn't get to all the expertise that we had. I'll thank you and ask you to sign off here. And as we do that, I hand back to Kevin. I'm going to say that Sparkle and Versa and Amartus and Nefeli have done a brilliant job of demonstrating a very important use case, one of a very topical one. But not only that, but they're very involved in defining and developing the MEF standards that underpin this. So thank you again, and I'll hand back to you, Kevin.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Daniel. I thought that was an awesome Q&A, and I'm struggling because there were so many different elements of the solution that was shown today that were discussed. So where do you start? We've got a really important and timely business requirement. It was enabled by SASE managed services that were underpinned by SD-WAN, NFV for lead orchestration of VNFs, CNFs, and the importance of and the flexibility to work with different overlays and underlays came out, not only within a single network, but across multi-provider networks in a global fashion. So that was quite a package that was demonstrated today. I thought you guys did a phenomenal job. So as we wrap up today, let me tell you about the MEF 3.0 Proof of Concept Awards. Each POC team is eligible, and there are 4 categories covering innovation, business impact, market game changer, and judge's choice. And they're going to be judged by a panel of 8 independent analysts. We're going to be announcing the winners during episode 3 of the MEF Infinite Edge series on March 10th, and you don't want to miss it, so register for that if you haven't already. I'm told that you'll be able to carry on your questions today with the team by using the contact information, which is now up on a slide that you should be able to see, and so you can feel free to ping them directly. Now, if you want to get more information on today's POC 106, you can just Google MEF POC 106, or you can go to mef.net/POC/106. There's a lot of great information there. You're going to have shortly, this content will be on demand there, but there are network diagrams, supporting materials, blogs, and more there. So check it out. And certainly, if you enjoyed today's presentation, pass that information on to your colleagues so they can go and see the on-demand content. So with that being said, I'd like to thank this entire team for the heavy lifting in putting this together, my MEF production team for bringing it all to you today, and most importantly, those of you that attended today, our attendees today. So thank you very much, and we'll see you on our next MEF 3.0 POC Showcase.